pleased to welcome back to our show Debbie Walsh, who's the director of the Center for American Women in Politics at Rutgers University. Debbie, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Steve.
Debbie, what is going on? What is going on in the state legislature that we are losing so many women who are just choosing not to run again? Yes, a few members of the assembly are running for the Senate, but that's not what I'm talking about. What's going on?
Well, it is a record year for women not running for reelection. And there's a mixed story there, right? Some of them have been serving for quite a while and they're tired and they're moving on. Some have had some health issues. A couple we know are not running again. Sadaf Jaffer in particular has called out misogyny and anti-Asian, anti-Muslim hate as part of why she is not running again.
After one term.
After one term. And that's something we have to look at, and we have to look at in a hard way, not just here in New Jersey, but across the country. Because it's one thing to elect women to office, but it's another thing to retain them, right? And we have to make sure that these spaces and these environments are places that women can stick around. And this issue of, racism that women seem to face and the violence that women face at higher rates than men do. And I'm not necessarily talking about physical violence, but the kind of aggression that's displayed on social media that their families are then victims of. And you have to take a hard look. If you've got young kids, do you want them exposed to that? Do you want to be afraid for them to go to school? People get emails that say, I know where your kids go to school. And, even if they were never going to act on it because they're sitting in their mother's basement, with a Slurpee, but this is the kind of harassment and violence that we know people in politics face, but women are disproportionately impacted by this. And we're seeing it at every level. I mean, look at what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband, right? That is at its most egregious, but it takes away from wanting to think about staying in office.
The other part of this is we just had an interview with a leader of the in the Latina community who was arguing very effectively that women of color, that for Latinas, it is especially difficult as well. Largely, not only the fundraising issue is challenging, raising money to run a campaign, but also that the quote unquote old boys network, if you will, the old party boss system, the county chair system, just not particularly open to women of color. True?
Yeah. Steve, you and I have been talking about this. I feel like every few years I come on and we have this conversation and it doesn't change dramatically.
Well, we're going in the wrong direction now.
Yeah. And our state is unique in the ways in which those county party chairs, and in some cases, people who aren't even elected, who serve in position, who have positions of power that make decisions about who runs and who doesn't run. And they are looking at people like themselves. And these folks are largely
white men.
And they pick people that look like them. They groom them, they bring them along, and they run them. And in our state, unlike most other states, the party is in effect endorsing in the primary. And it makes it very, very difficult for new people, women, people of color, women of color in particular, to break in, because those doors to money and the volunteers and the organization is not behind you when you are running offline. And that just makes it very
One second, Debbie. Let me clarify. Offline, I don't want to get arcane here, but Debbie and I, being students of the political process, we get too inside baseball, if you will. Don't worry, I don't have any other props.
Okay.
So the party line is given to someone by the party organization. The line is the top line, the preferred line. Off the line is often very hard to find on a ballot and very hard to win from that position. Please pick it up from there, Debbie.
Yeah, so if you don't have that ballot placement, but it's so much more than the ballot, right, Steve? It's also the money, it's the organization, it's the get out the vote operation. It's, most people go in to vote and they're a Democrat or they're a Republican and they see who the party is endorsing, and that's their clue, right? That's how they know who to vote for.
Even if
They
they don't
may
know
not
that
have.
person.
Right, right. So they may not know who's voting, I mean, who's running necessarily and where they stand on everything, but they go, well, this is the Democrat who's running with the party endorsement, and I'm a Democrat, and that's who I'm going to vote for. Or this is the Republican, and they've got the party endorsement, and I'm a Republican. Party is the greatest predictor of how you vote. And knowing, you sort of assume that your party leadership on either side is doing the vetting for you. But what the problem is when they're doing the vetting, you're not learning enough about the other people running. And it just rules out those folks it makes it so much harder. And there are exceptions. We've seen it, but they are so rare
Right.
that we all talk about them when they pull it off, right?
Real quick on this, New Jersey used to be in the top 10 of the number of women in the state legislature. Now we are 21st in the nation for female representation in the state legislature. So real quick on this, explain to folks that's running for office, getting elected to office, the impact of having fewer and fewer women in the state legislature in terms of public policy. Please, Debbie.
Sure. Well, I will just say for the record, we used to be in the bottom 10 for decades with states like Mississippi and Alabama and Kentucky. And then things changed. People, honestly, Steve, people got indicted, people got thrown out, and party chairs looked to women and they put women in
And
those.
there were men who got indicted.
And it was men who got indicted. It was men who got the boot. And women came in and took their place. And we moved up. And we did, for a brief period, we were in the top 10 or top 15. We're now down to 21st. It matters because women bring, and women of color bring different perspectives to the table, different life experiences, and they legislate differently. They have different public policy priorities. It is not for nothing that in New Jersey, we were for a long time only one of only 2 states with paid family medical leave. And that was because of Loretta Weinberg, right? Because a woman
Senator
was
Weinberg.
there who said, this is a problem. The fact that a woman who has a baby is not thrown out of the hospital after 24 hours. They have no more drive-by deliveries. That was women in the state of New Jersey.
Or, excuse me, Debbie, that's State Senator Teresa Ruiz leading the effort as it relates to affordable, accessible childcare. Example, if you will, our Reimagine Childcare initiative. That could happen with a male legislator, but it hasn't.
No, because you know what happens? It's women who understand and raise it up. It's not that the men don't support it, but Teresa Ruiz is an extraordinary example of someone who's prioritized education
That's
and
right.
kids in a way that it's not that the men in the legislature don't care about education, don't care about kids, but will they make that a top priority? I mean, she has been such a leader on that. So it takes women's voices and it takes a diversity of women's voices. So white women, Black women, Latinas, Asian American women, Muslim women, it takes those different voices. And honestly, it's why we want diversity overall in our legislature.
Debbie, I'm sorry for cutting you off there. Unfortunately, there's a time issue. Debbie Walsh joins us again to put things in perspective. Debbie is the director of the Center for American Women in Politics at Rutgers University. Debbie, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Steve.
You got to stay with us. We'll be right back.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, the Russell Berry Foundation, New Brunswick Development Corporation, New Jersey's Clean Energy Program, PSC, the New Jersey Education Association, Atlantic Health System, and by the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Promotional support provided by ROINJ and by New Jersey Globe.
New Jersey is home to the best public schools in the nation. And that didn't happen by accident. It's the result of parents, educators, and communities working together year after year to give our students a world-class education, no matter the challenge. Because parents and educators know that with a shared commitment to our public schools, our children can learn, grow, and thrive. And together, we can keep New Jersey's public schools the best in the nation.